Hey guys, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another writing experiment. Several weeks ago over on my YouTube community tab, I asked y'all to fill out this form so I could get an idea of the average writing routine of my subscribers. So like the average writer. Over 1,000 of y'all answered my call. So today I want to go over my stats as well as 1, attempt a day of writing like you guys, of writing like the average writer who's subscribed to my channel and filled out the form. Okay. 2, try the writing routine of one of my patrons, and 3, try a random writing routine from one of y'all based on the questionnaire. So first let's go over stats, there are graphs, I'm excited. The first question on my form was, when do you usually write? Now, I'm actually somewhat surprised by this. Not so much that the answer of night owl, as I think a lot of people have the typical sort of 9 to 5, even when you're in school. And so for a lot of people, you can't really write until after you've gotten home, hung out with the family, done the dinner thing, blah, blah, blah. But the in pockets being as high as it was surprised me. In fact, it won. And my poor little early bird self is only 14.4% of the people who filled out the questionnaire. Now at this next question, I actually had a whole chunk of people fill in their own sort of favorite things to drink. We got a lot of specific sodas, a lot of I do this in the morning but this in the afternoon. The overwhelming answer, however, was just water at 25%. And then a follow-up of 19.4, it depends on my mood. Which, to be fair, I probably fall into that, even though like 19.2 other percent of people, I do love my coffee, y'all. The next question was, how long do your writing sessions usually last? And for some reason, this answer really surprised me. The 2+ hours at 26.2% is crazy to me, because I think if I was filling this out myself, I might have said 30 minutes to 1 hour, which was 20.3% of y'all. 1 to 2 hours at 45.1% took the cake, but I just feel like that's a really long time for a writing session. And, you know, maybe I'm used to writing for a little bit, then getting up and doing something almost like my own Pomodoro, but not quite. So I don't know that I tend to count all of that as a single session. So maybe that's just my own misconception with what a writing session is. Under 30 minutes was only 3.8% of people, and I steal 5 minutes here and there throughout the day, and that's the only time I can write, came in at 4.5%, and kudos to y'all freaking 4.5% of people who are doing that. That is impressive, and hell yeah. Now I feel like on AuthorTube, it's always such a big deal about what people's writing playlists look like, and while I've done them in the past, I don't often write with music, so I was very excited about this question. And the sometimes answer came in at almost 50%, but 34.5% of y'all always listen to music while you write. And I am over here in the minority at 15.9% who never do. Now the common advice I see is to not edit your work while you're drafting, just point blank, draw the line in the sand, that is it. So of course I had to ask how many of y'all actually edit the work, at least from the previous writing session, before picking up where you left off. And I think it's interesting, so 13.2% were like a hearty yep, they definitely edit the words from before. And I'm always curious if that results in a cleaner draft or more time spent, you know, editing words that potentially you won't be using again, or like what exactly we're attempting to edit here. So I'd be excited to delve into this a little bit more, as it's so opposite the way that I write. 42.6% of people don't edit until the draft is done. And then we have the 44.1%, which is maybe actually closer to what I'd categorize myself as, is if I was really struggling with the words the day before, or I know that they weren't right, I might edit them. Usually for me, that means I'll just like kind of reread it, strike through it, and be like in brackets, this is where I'm going moving forward. The next question was, how often do you write? Coming in at a whopping 46.8%, people said they write 3 to 5 days of the week. Then we have almost a quarter of y'all saying that you write every single day. 12.7% write twice a week. 9.5% of y'all give yourself 1 day off, so 6 days of the week you're writing. And then 9.4% of y'all can only write once a week or only like to write once a week. I think this is especially interesting as we're about to go into NaNoWriMo, where for a lot of people, they do the standard 1,667 words every single day that most of us don't do that. I know I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to be in that 3 to 5 days of the week category. This next answer, and potentially not a surprise, is probably the most overwhelming majority we've gotten so far, with 64.8% of us writing by our computers or laptops exclusively, but then 27.8% of us use a mixture of these various methods, while 5.8% write exclusively by hand, 1.3% use a typewriter, a tablet, an AlphaSmart, or some other sort of technology to help them write, and then only 0.3%, 3 whole votes, use voice to text to write. This next question was another one I was especially interested in because of the emphasis placed on word count, not only on AuthorTube, but just also with NaNoWriMo and all of the questions that, you know, famous authors get about their productivity. I was just curious to see what everyone's word-based goal was each writing session, and 50% of you guys do not have a word-based goal. Whatever you get, you get. The next most popular at 20% was the goal of about 500 to 1,000 words. Then 1,000 to 2,000 at 16.4%, 250 to 500 words at 6.2%, 5.5% of y'all attempt to get over 2,000 words each writing session, and then 1.9% of you have the goal of about 0 to 250 words each session. Now this whole questionnaire I called your writing routine, but I was curious how many people thought they even had an established writing routine. And 29.6% said, yes, I have a writing routine. 15.5% of y'all were like, nope, no writing routine here. And then 54.9% don't have one yet, but do want a writing routine. I think there's a lot of benefits to having a routine personally, but also it's one of those things that when I get off routine, I kind of struggle. So in some ways, I think the flexibility could work better for some people, but it's just interesting. This next one was a little bit of a challenge, as it was once again kind of fill in the blank with whatever you want, though I did give some options. Do you do any of the following during most writing sessions? Do you have any sort of habits you must do? Like light candles, 22.4% of y'all do that each time. 22.1% reward yourselves. 13.2% have the same snack during each writing session. 5.8% of y'all turn off the Wi-Fi. Almost 30% of you guys use a bullet journal to track your writing, but then 33.7% of you guys were like, I don't have any of these kind of things. No sort of habits that I must do each writing session or most writing sessions. And then, do you see this? Do you see this list? There's lots of random stuff here, which I love, as y'all selected this kind of other category. And for the last question, I asked if you guys use timed writing sprints. Again, because my community is somewhat AuthorTube specific, and because we do live write-ins that really need to utilize sort of sprint timers and this kind of communal timing aspect, I was just so curious, and the answer was 52.8% of y'all sometimes use timed writing sprints, 26.4% of you guys, yes, you use timed writing sprints, and then 20.8% are a no. And personally, when I'm by myself, I don't really use timed writing sprints. Unless I really need to kick my own butt into gear, I don't use them. So I guess technically I'm in that 52.8% of sometimes. But we're gonna save my attempt at the average writer's routine until the end and instead go over one of my subscribers' routines at random. So in that same questionnaire, I basically had like an optional question at the very end where it's like, if you want me to try your routine possibly, leave me your name. So after eliminating all of these submissions without names, I used Google to randomly generate a number from 2 to 612. And I got 555, which was Barb. So to try and write like Barb, the first thing to note is that I was going to be writing in pockets. So what I did is that I basically switched off writing and doing other work-based things. Barb does have coffee with her writing, and so of course, you know, this was not a hard ask from me. I was happy to make my coffee, bring it over, start my writing session. One of the things I found most interesting in general about the responses, and Barb fell into this category, was the use of ASMR while writing. You know, Barb only occasionally does timed writing sprints. She usually can only write under 30 minutes in those pockets, but using the ASMR most times was really interesting. Okay, I actually love this page smoothing stuff that's happening. That's why whenever I'm editing my reading vlogs, I always try and make sure I have a good like page turning sound, but non-stop. It's actually really nice. Yeah. It's 7:09. I definitely woke up at like 6:06. So I got the dogs food, took them outside, and then I almost immediately started writing after I made my cappuccino. It's probably been more than 30 minutes. This is the only problem. problem with not doing the timed writing sprints is I don't know how long it's actually been. But like, you don't need to do timed writing sprints to figure it out. I just don't know for the sake of the experiment if I've gone over my 30 minutes or... The other main thing to note about Barb's routine, and she fell into this little sliver that did a mixture of writing methods, and so I, you know, did a lot of typing on my computer, but I also decided to try writing by hand again. This is my version of stealing moments. I'm waiting in the car, so instead of scrolling on my phone like I could be doing, I brought the writing with me. I guess I could have written on my phone. It's fine. I did this on and off method of doing some writing work and then doing some other work for the rest of the day, and also switching up if I was writing by hand or writing on my computer. But I wanted to let you know about the rest of Barb's like sort of routine, because again, she doesn't feel like she has a routine, but she only occasionally writes with music. She only edits back the words from the last writing session if she was struggling with them. She only sometimes uses timed writing sprints. And then the parts that I think are super interesting are that she doesn't have a word-based goal. So I really just kind of stopped myself once I was like done with a pocket of things. And then also she only writes once a week. And I think this is the most phenomenal part out of all of it, is this sort of dedication to writing, whether it's a hobby or a profession, when you only have time that you're stealing in order to do it. And I think that's so impressive. So I loved getting to do Barb's routine. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was how many moments I truly have to steal time. And just having that time when I was in the car, I think I got like a whole page and a little bit at the end. Words I didn't have before, and instead of always reaching for my phone and just piddling and doing nothing, I could be kind of productive, and it was fun. It was fun. And to that end, I really do like writing by hand when it's in small chunks, so just bring my notebook everywhere. That's the lesson. And now, without the constraints of the questionnaire, I did go over to my Patreon and asked my patrons to tell me just in their own words what their writing routine looked like. I figured the flexible answers would be more fun to delve into in, you know, places that my questionnaire just couldn't quantify. So with another randomly generated number, this time from 1 to 35, I landed on 21, which was Sarah Cahill. Now, Sarah actually makes videos as well, so I will link her channel I Got a Blank page down below. So Sarah says, as a mom of 4, she doesn't particularly have a writing routine in quotes, and that her daily routine varies from day to day, but she is participating in Milwordy, so this is the writing routine she sort of aims for each day. She starts with a 40-minute walk, which is technically the school run, and she gets home at around 9:30. So as is the trend, when she is rewriting specifically, Sarah listens to ASMR. It's always fluffy microphone sounds with no talking. So that is what I was going to attempt for my first Pomodoro session, because she tries a full Pomodoro during nap time, which is the 25 minutes of work and then a 5-minute break, and you do that 4 times in total. Do you want to go outside? Good job, buddy. Yeah. All right, 5-minute puppy break. The mic sounds are interesting. This isn't the kind of ASMR I usually listen to, so I'm just kind of fascinated by it. It actually did just kind of fade to the back at some point, but then there'd be, you know, you'd change it up a little bit, and I was like slightly jarred, but it is quite interesting. I don't think I have anything to draft today, but I almost want to attempt to draft at the next Pomodoro. Oh, good job, Zelda. She's going potty. How are you, Bubs? Good. How are you, Buff? Good. How are you, Zelda? Yeah? No, good job, Duke. Yes, sir. No. I kind of would do some drafting because Sarah listens to Lindsay Sterling when she's drafting, so I think that could be kind of fun. The other difference is I'm gonna wait and see, because Barb did not count her words. She didn't have a word count goal necessarily, and though I don't think Sarah always has a word count goal, she is participating in Milwordy, so I know that she's keeping track somehow. So okay, I think it's now been 5 minutes. Should I work out here for the next one? I think that's what I'll do. As I'll discuss later, Lindsay Sterling ended up being somewhat of a bop, so it took me a little bit to get into the zone of having that in the background, but Oh, freaking loved it. And I did manage to get in one Pomodoro session, a little over 600 words. And then in the next one, I got almost over 1,000 words in total. So I ended up with like 1,600 in drafting words for this Pomodoro session. After that full Pomodoro, Sarah will write in 10 to 15 minute bursts throughout the day. Basically, whenever she manages to get some quiet time and can fit it in, she'll do work that requires less focus, like journaling or working on characters, updating her Pinterest boards, or planning new projects, getting random ideas down onto the page. At 3 p.m. she goes for another walk. It was hot as hell here in Texas, so I decided not to do the walk, but I did get on my desk bike and do some reading, which was really nice. And then in the evening, around 7, Sarah will do another full Pomodoro with more tea and an evening snack. She says it is, in quotes, weird, but at the moment it works. So the thing I learned from Sarah is actually just reinforcing some things for me, but it's like a two-parter. Yes, okay. I just cannot quite concentrate for a full Pomodoro yet, at least not to the effect that I think I would like to, that I should. I'm good for about 20 minutes and what feels like sprint or full concentration. But then I just have not yet worked up to the 25, and this is where I'm still kind of like, maybe it's okay that I can't do the full 25. Maybe that's okay. But I did find it easier to do closer to the full 25 when I was doing my mixture of rereading and sort of outlining the new scenes. I did quite like having Lindsay Sterling playing. I don't know that the mic sounds are for me, but Lindsay Sterling while drafting was an interesting experience. I thought I was gonna get too hyped, as y'all saw, but actually did manage to like just sort of fade, and it was nice. I think that's why I've always avoided words with songs typically, other than to get hyped before I write the scene, but not during the scene. So this was good. This was good. And now finally, it is time to write like the average writer. So as a refresher, I'm going to be writing in pockets. I will be drinking water while I write. The writing sessions itself are going to last for 1 to 2 hours, which is interesting with what in pockets means, but like that's what we're gonna do. I will occasionally write with music, which I think means one pocket. I will write with music. I'm only going to edit the work from the previous day if I was struggling with the words, which might happen in the current draft project. I'll be writing only on my computer or my laptop, and I won't really keep track of my words. I'm just gonna go into it with what I go into it as and get excited for no matter what. Basically means I'll stop in after the session is done rather than like me meeting a word count. And I will sometimes use timed writing sprints, in that I think I might like try and race myself for 10 minutes during the writing session or something. Yeah. But on the docket for the day is more of my prep-tobering. So I'm still doing the new timeline for before we get to the Capitol, but we're very close. This is actually another scene that I had to sort of reconfigure, and that nothing is actually changing. It just it didn't quite flow right. So I'm changing the flow a little bit. That's one of the things that with the ability to read it as a reader, I noticed more. So yeah, just shuffling what happens within the scene a little bit. And what I'm really excited for is we are very close to the first death, the first on-screen death. I loved this death so much because we're opening up all these questions about my character. You think you're gonna get answers with the first death, and yet all it does is raise more questions, which I love when we're still very early on. Without further ado, I have my water. In fact, they are nutrition facts about literature, serving size 50 pages, 5% hyperbole, and I am currently sitting at about a Dickens amount of water left. It's now 9:30. I have about an hour pocket. Let's frickin' do this. Can you see that? And now it's Steinbeck levels. All right, 10:27, and it is time for me to go vote and then hang out with my little padres, and I'm gonna do some work over there. Backpack. Let's go. Cities and counties and everybody help each other out when they're close by. Knocking out the top of To be fair, I refilled it, but we passed Hemingway, y'all. So close to Morrison. Okay, I'm now back home. I'm taking in pockets very seriously. Other things I've done besides hang with the little padres and get a little bit of writing in, painted my nails, took out my contacts, and now we're here. We're here again and we're ready to try. However, I am going to do something first that a lot of people had said they do. A candle, I'm gonna light a candle. I realize that just holding it might not be immediately obvious. Ta-da! And in the sometimes turn of events, I'm actually going to be rereading part of what I have because fix above, which requires some amount of rereading and editing as I go. I always love when I bracket something because it means I know I went off in a slight direction. So this is one where I think I slightly corrected, but what I'd really like to do is see if I can't make that flow back into it. So rather than having this break and a jump, I want to make it flow. Flow. I traded out my water cup for a different one. Any fun? I now also have two of my co-writers in here. The little book eater. I'm hoping she's not gonna touch the ones on the bottom there. Ducaroni, so cute. Oh, the third has joined. Are you taking your sister's spot? Oh, look what I just spied. There's a little bird's nest that's being built right outside the window. It's so cute. Buffy has another word for the birds, but that's okay. Now that I've gone backwards, it's just gonna require a little bit more drafting. In fact, I think it might be another like 500 words or so. So what I'm thinking is, since writing sprints were sometimes used, 606. Yeah? Yeah. All right, I still have some drafting to do in this scene, so I think I'm going to continue on, but I'm feeling like I'm getting into the flow, so I guess it was a good sprint. I think that's the one thing about doing the sprints when you're doing the live write-ins is, you know, you can get into the flow state, and when you're hosting or co-hosting, you have to get back to the chat. Whereas when I'm just watching people, I'll sometimes just mute the stream. I'm gonna get back to it, but I'm gonna stop recording because I think I'm there, so. Okay, 1,023 words, dang. This is my favorite part, honestly. Ooh. I think I could watch an entire video of just the smoke after our candle's blown out. I'm going to file, save, oh yes, back Zelda, and X out of that project. These dogs are freaking, all right, let's go outside. No. So this was a bit of a weird day, but I also think it really worked to do the average writer's routine. My goodness, Buff. I hear the other dogs. So because I left to vote today and then I was hanging out with my parents, this was less of a work day, but I think that also meant that I took the in pockets or managing to fit in my writing to like the best way, because I did it this morning before I had left, I did it while I was there, and I did one this evening. So I got over 3 hours, I think probably about 4 hours, because I did more on the 1 hour side than the 2 hour side of each of my writing sessions. So that was managing to fit in, let's say 4 hours of writing today, and not at the times I normally would have, not in the way I normally would have, but I enjoyed it. I almost left with the boyfriend and I was gonna take my notebook and go with him and just kind of jot some stuff down. So I'm really taking, you know, what I learned from Barb's routine and applying it to today. And then what I was working on, the drafting words, was actually what I worked on during Sarah's day, because I just wanted to listen to Lindsay Sterling. So it was just all kinds of fun. I feel like I got to blend everything together. But please do comment down below. Let me know if you filled out my form. Let me know what you think of the responses. Were any of the average answers surprising to you? And let me know if there was a question that you would love to know about the average writer or the average writer's routine question that I didn't have on the form. What's something that you're curious about? But that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you especially to some of my new patrons this month. Georgie Spora, Leah Clifford, Woman of Text, Micah Rose Manser, Nicole S.J. Gladley, SB Art, Katarina Wagner, Marin Corcoran, Callahan Caverty, Juju B, and Laura O'Brien, and I will see you all very soon with a new video. The puppies say bye. Bye. But then 33.7. Oh my god, words are so hard. Good job. Which we're probably on